Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Now, to talk more about this, politics is a very dirty business. It seems the further we go into the campaign, the further we go into the race, the more the teeth and the claws come out. And now they're trying to censor Donald Trump on CNN, as some people would call the Clinton News Network. They're saying, Roger Stone, CNN banned me on the orders of Hillary Clinton. And basically, he's saying that the Clintonistas have blacklisted him from CNN. And the rationale is they said they don't like the tweets that he put out. That's what the network is saying. But Mr. Stone is saying that Mrs. Clinton doesn't want him to reveal more about her shenanigans going on behind the scenes, regardless of who's right, if anybody's right. They told, this is a quote from Mr. Stone. He says, the Clintons have ordered CNN not to interview me because I am not PC. Those are the words of Mr. Stone. So as the things get more hot and heavy, these things are just going to intensify. And now it's to the point the late night guys are poking fun at Hillary, which they've been doing for a long time now. But she was asked about this recently on CNN. She was doing an interview, and basically she laughed off the point how she cannot answer simple, basic questions with just a yes or no. And here's a funny clip from Stephen Colbert.
How can you be this bad at it? Just say no. Just say no. You're running for president of the United States. Even Richard Nixon knew to say, I am not a crook. He didn't say, it has always been my intention, as far as I believe, I will do the best I can not to be a crook.
And from Hillary now to Trump, we see that Trump has more votes than Romney did at this point back in 2012. So it seems that Mr. Trump is definitely the front runner. We see Mitt Romney won Nevada's caucus in 2012 with about 50% of the vote. He did so by pulling in roughly about 16,000 votes, about the same number Marco Rubio got this year. And now we see Trump, by contrast, has doubled Romney's total, making about 34,000 votes. So it definitely sees that people are starting to feel the Trump. I'm a bit on the fence, a little bit skeptical, but each his own. And we'll see how this continues to develop as he goes up the polls. It seems like the guy is having a very difficult time stopping momentum, or people are trying to stop his momentum. We saw that he went to the press conference with Glenn Beck, came, and they say he stole his thunder. I guess Mr. Beck has been having some difficulty by going against Trump, but he's having some hard times convincing people to do the same. Now let's completely shift gears and talk about a different topic. The Apple hack. You guys have probably heard about this recently with the San Bernardino shooting and all the people who were involved in that. Basically, if you haven't heard, Apple is being pressured by police to unencrypt the phone that the San Bernardino shooters used. Now, I do respect Apple for their stance on this. Some people argue that in a case of terrorism, they should make an exception. But Apple also realizes that it's not just this one phone. Authorities, law enforcement, they have a big string of phones lined up for them to hack once they break the encryption on the San Bernardino shooter's phone. So it's been a big subject of controversy. And now we see that a reporter has actually gotten hacked in the air while he was reporting on the FBI Apple story. And he says, I don't really need to worry about my online privacy. I used to think I've got nothing to hide, and who would want to know what I'm up to anyway? And this is the thought that the reporter had until a recent flight. The reporter, they touched down on the ground and somebody said, hey, you're a reporter, right? He's like, yeah, what are you talking about? He's like, well, just meet me outside once we get out the plane. So he stops and he talks to the guy. And basically the guy tells him how he was able to hack into his computer and pretty much just, if he wanted to, do some malicious things. He was just doing it kind of, I guess, as a gag or whatever. But it pointed out to the reporter how serious online privacy is. And it kind of changed his views to the point, well, maybe we do need encryption and you can't just unlock it for anybody. Of course, if a police officer has a warrant and a good reason, maybe you can consider that. But you shouldn't just do it willy-nilly. You shouldn't be forced to hand over your phone data if you're pulled over for a busted taillight or something like that. So it's just one more person who changed their point of view over a topic that they would normally care nothing about. And this is something I thought was very interesting. A hero rat is saving Cambodians from landmines. And basically the rats were sent from Africa, where they were successfully clearing minefields in Mozambique and Angola, and they began to do the same task in northwestern Cambodia earlier this month and have already scored tangible results. So basically, I guess they're somewhat like dogs in their ability to sniff out things. They're going around pointing out to people where the landmines are, and the landmines are being distracted or destroyed. And it's a very good thing, because that's one of the things that's really kind of always bothered me about modern warfare, or recent warfare, I guess. They don't use them too much anymore. But you hear the stories like in Afghanistan and places that these guys, or Iraq, they would have landmines and they would attach toys to them, or, you know, shiny objects that a kid would be attracted to, pick it up, and they would, you know, kill the kid or seriously hurt the kid. You know, this is a far cry from trying to damage your physical opponent, that military-aged male who's walking around with the AK-47. They were going after very young people with these things. And even if, you know, they weren't specifically targeting the children, they have these in big, vast open fields where the children can go and easily get hurt. So I think it's good that they have some type of recourse against this. I know that I believe the UN has been trying to outlaw landmines for some time. And of all the weapons that we have, you know, from firearms to missiles and all this stuff, I think landmines would definitely be something to consider getting off the battlefield, because once that battlefield goes into a farmer's field, you know, years after the war has concluded, the landmines still remain and nobody really has any accountability as to extract them.
Thousands of years ago, there was a basic form of chivalry. Our ancestors would hear the drums of war, giving the warriors of the tribe a chance to organize and prepare a defense. 60 years ago, when foreign air forces were approaching filled with bombs, they had drums of their own, air raid sirens. But in the 21st century, there are silent weapons for quiet war. Pathogens added to the food and water, and to the lining of plastics that destroy our vitality, turn off our hormones, and accelerate our journey towards death. I personally counter this onslaught with Anthroplex. Anthroplex is designed with known organic concentrated herbs to create the basic foundation to normal metabolic activity inside the human body. Discover why Anthroplex is turning so many heads today. It's time for us to take our bodies back into our own hands, and it starts at InfoWarsLife.com with Anthroplex.